a weekend and is about to go back to Oklahoma and has, oil money and is like, come here, little missus, to the waitress. Oh, she would, as long as he had money, she would sink her teeth into, and the guy would probably be like, I've never met someone like this before.
He would be like, she is just everything and a bag of chips.
And she
And
would
that's
be
what,
like,
yeah,
okay, I'll split half
everything.
my time in Oklahoma, no problem.
Yeah.
She would be thrilled with that. Yeah,
I don't
I
think she's
like
ever splitting her time in Oklahoma. She'd be like, she'd get him to buy a place in Vegas.
she'll do that.
Yeah.
What do you think of? There's a lot of talk about like Lisa Vanderpump that, I mean, Kyle, first of all, Kyle and Dory both have said Kyle ran into Vanderpump recently and she said, look, it wasn't, Ken was there. She's like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. It was, a pleasant exchange. Maybe they ran into each other at like Craig's or, Dan Tana's or one of those. And she said, like, look, I don't think Lisa has it in her to, that's not her type. She's not going to forgive. We're not going to move past this, but it was okay. Dorit was asked recently too, and Dorit said, no, like, I'm always open to reconciling with anyone, but it's not in Lisa's genetic makeup, so it's never going to happen. A lot of people think, Lisa's now probably sitting back and just sipping her tea. There's even a meme going on, of like, huh. I could have told you all this.
You know, I think that I think that when someone steps away from it, like the Vanderpumps, I'll even say Rena, Yolanda, and they have um success in a different way and they don't have all of the headaches of the show. I think it feels too good to go back to that. And Vanderpump was always, I mean, whether she ever wanted anyone to know that anything ever bothered her or not, there were times that it did. I mean, clearly you can see that. I mean, you saw it on the show. And she didn't like, being talked about. She didn't like being, ever like the target. And is she still do is that show Vanderpump Rules still? Okay.
Well, it is. I have something to say about that. And well, I'll tell you now. So it's like it's been on for 11 seasons. Like they grew up. They used to wait tables. They used to be broke. They're all now famous and just they
Right.
just announced that it is the whole cast is fired and they're starting completely over, but not Lisa. I mean, Lisa will be back with new people that is apparently work at Sir, that are probably like 23. This one's probably sleeping with that one. Like, we're just starting over because it's the same restaurant. And there are people there sleeping with each other that are all intertwined. So they're starting over, which is not good news for most of the cats. Some of them are okay, one or two. But, Vanderpump ain't scathed by that. She's coming back with a whole new cast. This could have a whole
Yeah.
nother 10
So,
years for
yeah.
her.
So good for her. That's why I say I think that's awesome for her. And yeah, why would she want to go back to like having a fight with who knows? Well, and that it's the cast is just so different. It's changed so much. She's not that anymore. I mean, she was so funny with her dry English humor, and she was. I love the way she just took the piss out of people, and she was funny. It was so good. And it's just not that. Like the humor, that's the thing. Like the humor of the show when like you know, the humor wasn't about someone drinking too much and falling into bushes or doing dumb shit like that. It was just like funny humor. Like that was good. That's gone. That's gone. I don't see that. I mean, I don't watch all of it, and I told you I haven't seen a lot of it because I've been gone so much. But when I just did like power watch, like to just turn it all off, I was like, I'm not laughing. I'm not smiling. I'm not chuckling. I'm not like, oh God, if I ever see her, I would love to have a drink with that girl. She's funny.
Do you get that from Salt Lake though? Or did you watch Salt Lake? Isn't Salt
I
Lake
did. I
funny?
watched Salt
Yeah.
Lake. I can't and remember how I told you I felt so detached from all the women. I'm like, I don't understand these women at all. I really couldn't watch Salt Lake for the first however 2 seasons or whatever it was. Now, I'm not saying I need to, yeah, that would not probably work for me still, but um I'm very entertained. That was
Yeah.
good. That right now for me, I think it's the best one, right?
I always say on this podcast, and I say I mean this as like a compliment, they're all batshit crazy. And I mean that
Yeah.
in like the best possible way. I don't know how some of them passed like the psych evaluation. It's just so
Nuts.
entertaining. It's like you have a scene and every single person here is opening their mouth and contributing. And it's just like the
Yes.
old days. It's like the old days. It's so good.
Yeah. That one, the Salt Lake City, I was definitely, I think Mary's hysterical. I
I mean,
love her comments.
she's like, and first of all, she didn't go to her reunion, so she sat out a season. Then they bring her back as a friend of, and then this season they're like, you
Is
either
she
need
full
to
time
show up.
now?
Yeah, she's full time. It's like they just can't get rid of her. She is literally, yes. And if you know it's authentic, you can tell that she's not rehearsing her lines at home. She's like just reality TV gold, is Mary Cosby.
The first season or whatever, I didn't like, I couldn't understand any of them. I didn't have a feel for not zero, not one. Like I thought the show was the worst thing. I thought for sure it'd be over in 1 year. I was like, what is this? No, not good. Now I like Mary. I feel like she softened quite a bit. Um, and she's funny as hell. Um, I and I don't know how everyone else reads her, but I'm not bothered. I like Whitney a little bit.
You
I
do.
I do. I feel like she's kind of like, I don't want to say ditzy because I don't think she's ditz, but she's just I think that she's kind of like true to herself.
I think
And
people dislike Heather the most these days.
Heather. Oh,
The
the other
bad
blonde, the
Mormon.
cousin,
Yeah.
the bad Mormon. That's horrible. Um, and why is that?
Well, I mean, granted, I think people dislike a lot of others as too. I think that a lot of people dislike Mary. I think that people think that Heather is, well, I think in part, well, I don't really know why that is. I think in part, Monica, reality Von Teese. Did you see that season where that whole thing?
I,
I think to
I saw some of it. I didn't see the whole season, but she's not on again, is she?
No, she's
Okay.
gone. I think a lot of people wanted her back. And I think
Oh,
people are like, well, Heather lied about having a black eye, and why is she back? And I think people think that Heather just causes a lot of shit and just drops bombs and walks away.
well, that's a rena. That's what people they need to have that on the show to some degree, and that whether people want to say they like it or not, you want to see that shit. So that's what you get. So you need someone to do those things. I'm not a great fan of Lisa Barlow.
A lot of people don't like her either.
It's just, I think it's just the delivery. It's the delivery of everything that is kind of bad for me. I'm like, whew,
You
yeah,
know what the thing is, though, if you look at it like they're in their fifth season, like this is other than Bronwyn and Mary, I guess, sat a season out, but it's all OGs. Well, not Angie, but like that's where you realize how much this show is succeeding because they're in year five and
yeah.
they're not getting rid of Heather, Whitney, Mary, Meredith, Lisa. All these OGs are going to
Oh,
come back.
Meredith,
Yeah.
Meredith. That one is a little crazy too.
I mean, there are people that don't like her too. I mean, I'm just like intrigued by just the whole, she's like she's like Erica, like the way